Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today, finally, it's here! Space unicorn on fire. That's right, I got a unicorn in space. He's made of fire. There's planets, there's stars. It's all the really great intergalactic stuff that you love. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to create this painting at home. So get your paint, get your brushes, let's check out the materials list and we'll get started right now. Come on, let's go. Hi, I'm going to be starting working on this on a 16 by 20 black gessoed canvas. And yes, of course, you could just take a white canvas and paint it black or use black gesso, though these black canvases are readily available at many locations. I've already sketched in the basis for my design. But listen, for those of you who just went, whoa, but I don't draw, that's okay. Because I believe two things. First thing, I don't think it is cheating to trace. I think art is a skill and there are many sub-skills within art. Drawing is one of them, totally learnable, but if you're not there yet, it is perfectly okay to use a traceable. And also, I do believe that it's something you can learn if you feel up for it. Thus, I absolutely recommend the video for how to draw a rearing unicorn. And if you want more information about those things, be sure and check out TheArtSherpa.com where those are located. So I've sketched this in with a white charcoal pencil because that's going to disappear into my paint as I'm painting. And I put out this fantastic stuff. This is a fluid or soft-bodied paint. And what that means is it doesn't have the polymers that build it up a lot. And I've got this really awesome splatter brush. But you know what also works? Is a toothbrush, an old stiff toothbrush. I'm going to load up my splatter brush like this on the edges, and I'm going to roll it, roll it, roll it. I'm going to stand back, and I'm going to do my favorite part of the painting, which is I'm going to lay in the stars, making these splatters. So again, you can flick a toothbrush, or you can get a splatter brush. Sometimes it can work whacking two brushes together. There's never just one way to get things done. I want a very celestial sky, so I'm going to be putting a lot of stars on here. It's fun for me to do. Also, as we add nebulas, we lose some of them, so I think it's nice to load them. Now, you might notice our unicorn is now currently full of stars. And we're going to go ahead and actually, interestingly enough, paint him black in to get rid of that. I'm going to put out my paint. I have acrylic paint here. My colors for this painting are phthalo blue, phthalo green, cadmium yellow, cad red light. This helps me with the fire part of the painting. Dioxazine purple. I'm going to also put out some white paint here a little bit so I can lighten colors. And my very favorite acrylic glazing liquid gloss. This is going to help me get the thin glazes and blends that I need to for my nebulas. And I'm going to put out a little black paint. So I'm going to get an acrylic brush. I'm going to start out with a tidy little number 6 bright. This has a firm filament. Brushes for heavy-bodied acrylic paint shouldn't be too soft. They should be a little bit firm, and you should be able to really hear the flick in your ear. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get this brush wet, and we're going to drag off the extra water. You want a little tiny bit of water on your brush, but not a whole lot. And I'm going to take a little of this black over to my phthalo blue and add a smidge. You can see just it's on the corner of my brush of the white. I just want it to show up a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and paint my unicorn back in with this blue black. See how I'm just on the edge of my brush. I'm not mixing these two together. I'm just on the edge of the brush. A little smidge, a little corner of the white. Just painting him back in with this. It's almost as dark as the black background, but slightly different. And also, he's not see-through, so we wouldn't see the stars. I am using the edge of my brush to carefully paint inside the lines I've drawn. And you can see that as I'm going, that chalk is disappearing. Very carefully, it's disappearing. I am so excited to be sharing this design with you guys. I'm hoping you love it. I'm hoping it's sort of a surprise. Like it was something you hadn't thought of, but now that you've seen it, you think to yourself, well, I really like that. So I'm just continuing to paint him in. That's a little light there, so I'm going to get a little more black paint. Want to make sure that he's very similar to his background, because we're going to see him in just highlights is how it works for him. And just the highlights of him. We'll dry brush those on before we do our flames. And you know, I really mean what I say about drawing and just being an art skill. A lot of people give up on creativity because they don't have one art skill in the whole set of art skills that you can have, and they miss out on all the amazing imagination that they could be taking part of in their lives. Because somewhere along the way somebody said, well, you don't draw, so you're not really an artist. One of my very favorite artists in the world doesn't draw at all. There's no drawing in his art. All right. Just painting that in. Just enjoying that, just painting that in. You can see if you had a boo-boo, it'd be really easy to go back with your black gesso or your black paint and fix it. Just painting him in carefully. And you should only be able to see him slightly against this dark, dark background. Like he's just a little reflective. Coming back over here. Just enjoying that. My stars are drying very quickly. I use the splatter technique for stars often. Talk about it a lot of ways to do it. Remember, you can always do a practice sheet of paper. I'm very excited for when we put the little hooves on fire. Unicorn isn't a unicorn until it's on fire. Well, actually, a unicorn is always a unicorn no matter what. Always be yourself in life, unless you can be a unicorn. Always be a unicorn. Just be your fabulous self. Alright, so I've painted him in. I've got him sort of worked in. And the next thing that I can do is I can start doing his highlights, the things that show his shape and everything. So I'm going to take a little white over to this mixture. We'll be doing some fire highlights once we light up his, fiery self. But right now we're just going to come to the top of his head here and say just a little bit of the light from himself in the starlight. I'm going to paint around what, would be his nostril, around his eye. Just feather that down, top of the ear, and a little bit right here. Gonna come up the jawline, so we're just kissing up the jawline, and a little bit down the neck. There's a lot of muscle here, and I'm going to highlight out that muscle. Maybe a little bit of the front. There's his nice little chest there. I'm going to follow that line that I had sketched in. You can see that he just starts to take shape with the highlights. Doesn't take a lot to talk about his shape. I'm still doing this number 6 bright. I haven't even changed brushes. But listen, if you're painting at home and you find your brush is hard for you to use, you can always switch to a smaller brush. Add a little thing at the top of his knee. Pull that down. I'm not painting it all out with this light color. I'm leaving lots of shadow. Let's highlight at the withers along the back. Then I'm going to pull sort of a round highlight around the barrel of his belly here. Come along the front of the leg, just very softly. Let's do a nice highlight, little shaping at the back of this leg carefully. That's a little more white than I wanted, so I'm going to wipe off my brush. There, blend that out and come along here. Just carefully coming along the hock and down the back of the leg. Just a little bit of a front of this leg. There, that just gives him a little bit of shape, doesn't it? There, just rounding him out. And so he's existing here now. You know, we have a lot to do once we put the fire in him and get his little horn going. I might do just one more little highlight here, just kind of right there at the barrel. This is all very light, and you can see what's underneath is really, really showing through. And then when we put the fire on there, that's going to be the strongest thing. I'm going to do the nebulas next. So let's get these nebulas in. These are really easy and fun to get in. I have a secret weapon for them, which is this dome brush. This has got a very stiff, scratchy filament in it, and it's rounded, so you can really scrumble with it, and I like it quite a lot. And I'm going to just get a little white, as you can see, just on the edge, the bit here on my dome brush, and I'm also going to put a little glaze on. And that's so that this is titanium white. This is a very powerful white. And so I add the glaze so that it's not as strong in its coverage. And I'm going to put a nebula happening here. And since I'm going to want some of it to be quite bright and warm, I'm going to have to put some in white first. And this will help the nebula show up better. You can see I'm doing these little kind of round, soft brush strokes. I'm getting lots and lots of glaze so that there's a lot of canvas showing through. Then I come over here and add a little bit here, coming down into a V. I don't want to do all of this because I want some of this to show through to the space behind it. I'm going to go up, 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 down. What I'm trying to do is make sure that I don't make cloned shapes, right? Shapes that look exactly like all the other shapes, because nature doesn't do that kind of repetition. And I'm trying to create a light value. And the reason I haven't painted the planet in yet is so I can kind of go behind it, because that'll really help me. I'm going to put a little more here. I've got some pigment right there with the glaze, so that won't be that hard. When I put the other colors in, this will help really give me areas of interest in the highlights. And that's what you're sort of looking for, right? But you don't want to do the whole thing. Well, you could. But for the purposes of getting this result, you don't. Lots of different ways to do things. Lots of different ways to get a result. I think we need some more space up here. So just light pressure. I know I'm going to be working a lot of color into this canvas. lot of color into this canvas. I'm getting a little kind of not thoughtful in my shape here, so I'm going to apply here and maybe be thoughtful back this way. And when I mean thoughtful, I'm like just thinking about what kind of shapes am I making, and are they balanced and are they pleasing? Even in this sort of white underpainting for what I'm going to be doing next, I definitely want this to have a lot of balance. While that's drying, I can start putting in my fabulous planet that is off in the distance, and I really like doing my planet. I like to have the back of my planet be a little of the phthalo and the dioxazine purple. And I'm going to come carefully paint inside. Inside this. And I'm going to shade about half of this planet with this. I may need to put out some new blue. I definitely want to paint out all my stars because planets are not transparent in general. Maybe there is a transparent planet out in space that we have not seen. You know? But this particular planet in this sector of space where space unicorns that are on fire live is not see-through. I grabbed a little of that glaze with white. And I am grabbing that because I'm going to want to blend some of this. That had a little white in the glaze. Just want a little of these values coming back here. Let's keep putting in the shadow. And we're getting that in. We're ready to start grabbing some of our green. And I'm not even going to rinse my brush yet of the purple. I'm going to actually blend. I'm going to take the green, I'm going to drag it down. I like painting imaginary planets. It's literally being a world builder. It's completely fun. That was a little blue and green. I'm going to grab a little more of this green. This time I'm going to get a smidge of the white and the glazing. And you'll notice that I'm going to start to blend that here. Smidge of the white and the blending. Let's really start shading that around. Just softly curving my brush strokes, really enforcing the shape of my object. Now I'm going to get a little of my white, a little purple. Maybe just come right here and right in the center. Just dashing some of that. Rinsing out my brush a bit. I'm going to grab a little of my green and a little of my yellow. Still pull my glaze. Or start putting in the front of this planet. So the color of this planet tells us a lot about what kind of planet it is. It's probably very cool and reasonable. It's got a lot of green. It has a lot of water. Looking at it like this can make you feel like perhaps this being is a celestial being that watches over this planet. The residents who are here. When I first put these in, you know, I try to get the nice shaded shape before I start putting in the weather patterns. Though I do like putting in the weather patterns. As I'm brushing, some of the wet paint will pick up into my brush, but I want that. And now I've got a nice beginning of a planet. I can let that rest for a minute, rinse out my brush, pick up my dome brush. I'm going to start putting in my nebula again over here. Now I'm going to come and I'm going to get some just blue. Just blue. Load that on. Just glazing liquid. If you need to wipe off a little extra on your towels, go ahead and do so. And here I come. So you can see how the white underneath helps this a bit. It really does. I'm going to dust the brush with the phthalo again. Just having some fun with this. This can take a while to build up, but you don't want to worry about it. It's really fun to do. And you'll notice I'm not staying on the white. I'm going off into the space. Stars are showing through. I'm building up the values and expressions of this nebula. I'm going to add a little white to mix. This is quite light. Make sure I wipe it off and get more glaze. You can see that that's just a lighter value than what I've been putting down. So it does another level of what it has going on. Now I'm going to get my diox. And I may even, interestingly enough, put a little smidge of this cad red light into it. I'm going to get my glaze. I'm going to start blending in this part of the nebula. So sometimes if you think about nebulas, you could think about them like space clouds, you know. These are essentially gas. Coming over here. And you can just see I'm just going around, I'm just letting this brush do the work, the scrumble do the work. Letting the scrumble, absolutely. Getting some more purple. This is quite deep. I'll go right over the black. Come up into here. You can see it just starts to build these gas. Get a little white on here. And a little purple. Dust that off here. Just working that around. Just having a good time. So I wouldn't want this to be solid mass. You'll notice I'm going up and I'm coming down and I'm leaving open spaces. You can always go back with black paint if you paint out too much of your space in your space. I'm going to get some just blue and some glazing medium. Come right here. See, I'm just working this up into there, and I'll come under here a little bit. Since that just creates some tonality and some personality. Off the canvas. Just. So now I'm going to come over to my purple. And I'm still going to want my glazing medium. Got my purple and my blue mixed here. And let's get this nice nebula up here. So you can see how the white creates some depth, and then it coming off the canvas does as well. These are the things that can help us tell our story. Just want to have some fun with this. Again, it's not a solid mass. These are very specific areas. very specific event spaces. So we'll just keep scrumbling. Just working in this guy right here. Take some of it up here. Again, maybe a little white into that. There we go. Just enjoying this. Super fun. Just putting in a little bit of space in your space. There we go. These are really nice. Really, really nice. I might grab just a little of my dog's ink and some more glaze and add this deep purple. It's so nice. Just coming around here. Fun stuff. Now while we're letting this rest, definitely rinse out our dome for later. And let's start putting in our rock formation. So our rock formation is sort of interesting. I am actually going to take a little of my yellow over to my black. And I'm going to add even a little red into it. And I'm going to use this as the base for my rocks. My little space rocks. I've got a number 6 bright here. You can come back in with more black. This can be quite dark. Bring a little of my yellow over here. And a little bit of my cad red. Just making those space rocks. Just enjoying that, scrumbling that in. Keep scrumbling that all in. You can add a little more black as you go. I'm going to take another little jaggedy spire. We don't know a lot about where he's choosing to be standing. That's just the red and the black now. Gives me some just keep painting this brown. A little of the cad red light into the black for the dark brown. Just bringing that here. Put some of that under here. Paint carefully around that foot. Right around the hoof. Just keep putting those little spires in. Painting those in. Very sharp, jagged, crystalline kind of rock formation. Take some of this darker brown back into the more gold brown that I made earlier. Alright, once I have that basis laid in, do something interesting. I'm going to grab my purple, little water. I haven't really rinsed my brush. And I'm going to come under this first spire. I'm going to make a little shadow. Under this one too. Take this out a little bit. And oh, this friend here, he's got a nice little deep shadow. And this helps bring that sort of spacey alien landscape into focus. A deep one right here. Going back towards the corner. Right under this rock, and you can even break this up. What we're doing is we're just creating these deep, deep, deep dark shadows that would be cast because of the light being cast off this unicorn that we haven't put there yet, but we're going to put it there. And when we do, you will want that. And I'm going to bring some of this purple around here, around the hoof, and then back a little bit, just deepening this. One thing you can do is you can add a little white in there. Maybe right here, just paint that in. If you put a little of the yellow into the purple, you're going to start seeing it do something called like it's graying out. And I'm going to add a little white to that. I'm going to come up at the top of the rocks. I'm going to dry brush. See how my brush is just not a lot of water? I'm painting along the shadow, along the top of this, pulling it down. There we go, right along the top. Maybe a little highlight here. Definitely let's put some there along the top of this ridge. And running along this. Super fun stuff. Alright, I feel like I need a shadow right there. So I'm going to take what's left of my purple, really pull and deepen this shadow right here. You know, always look at your piece. Like, am I finding balance with this, or am I feeling like it needs this further expression of what it is? Coming along there. So now we have the basis of the rock formation in. We can rinse out our brush. I'm going to get an even smaller bright. This is a number 4 bright. It has a really firm filament, nice sharp edge, and it's going to let me get a lot of detail going on my planet. I'm going to make sure that I have out the colors I need because I've been using up a lot of color. And put out a little blue. I think my green is still there. I might pop out a little yellow. A little bit. I think this was starting to skin on me, so just a smidge of the Cad Red Light just to make sure I've got some fresh soft one. And some more Dogs in Purple. Now I think I'm actually probably not going to need any more Dogs in Purple. So I'm going to start putting in this interesting landscape. Oh, I know what I am going to need more of. Titanium White. So I'm going to take a little of the blue and a bit of the white. And right here, I'm going to put in a storm. That's going to be, I'm going to make an ellipse. I'm very lightly going to paint around this, creating this little storm that is right here on this edge. I'm going to grab some just blue. I'm even going to come in and Come up here. Maybe over here I'll take some of this color and I will randomly dab and work this in. Get your green and get your yellow. A little too green. Let's go a little, there we go. A little too bright. But it's okay to have some of that. You want that. We're going to just create these uneven little scrumbly shapes. See how I'm just being all random? It's okay to put a little white into this. Let's pick up some blue. Just trying to talk about stuff that is happening atmospherically. All right, I'm just coming around, being very like random here. Soften that. Pick up some of my just green. If you need to, and it's an interesting thing, you know, you just do a little blue and green too. Believe it or not, to darken it and tell the story of a very lush planet. One of the gems in the galaxy, maybe. Destination location. Get a little more of your yellow. Just a little bit here and right here on the edge. Just little smidges. Maybe a little bit here and there. I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm going to get a little of my white on my dry brush. And I'm going to make some clouds. My planet. I'm going to come around the edge of my planet with this white very lightly. Tapering it so that it disappears. You need to come back with a little black paint, fix that, or a little nebula. Just trying to dance around some little clouds. It reminds me a little bit of calligraphy or when you're a little kid and you pretend to write. I'm going to get a little of my black and just make sure that that vanishes. The titch. There we go. Just making sure that's a nice edge. So I have this, I have the rock, and now I've got to start putting the flames on my unicorn, which is like one of my favorite parts, and some things I want to talk about flames. And if you want to know more about how fire is painted or how we do these kind of techniques, you like to look at it further, you can find more of that information at TheArtSherpa.com. Be sure and tell me what you think, what you're looking forward to paint, what you're hoping to do in the future. And I'm going to start putting in the eye, the nostrils, and this fire. The thing about fire is that where it's hotter, it's brighter, the closer it is to white. So it goes white and yellow, and then as it gets further away and cooler, it deepens and gets darker. So we're going to use that to our advantage to make this unicorn seem like he's really on fire. And the first fun part of that I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a little white out and a little of my yellow. And I need this to be super, super bright. I've got a number 2 bright here. And I'm going to come into this hoof right here, just in the center here, and then a little bit right there at the ankle, at the fetlock. Here. Coming up there, a little bit right there. I'm going to also, maybe back here, tell the story of a hot spot. Let's find these hot spots, because they're going to be happening Maybe right here. This would be a hot spot. And we can come back and put this back in if we lose it. That's okay, we can do that. I'm going to get some more yellow on my brush. And I'm going to come here and sort of paint around my hot spot very, very carefully. See that? Just layering in that yellow. Then I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to make a little flame that comes off, squeeze up, and floats out. And floats out. That's a little bit of flame that's going to be coming off my hoof. Maybe a little bit there. We're going to be just powering out these flames. Maybe there could be a little of this like yellow here on this foot. Get just a little bit there. Just a little bit. All right? Maybe a small amount of this light just sort of reflecting here. Wipe off if you have too much extra. Just a little light reflecting on this leg. Maybe a little bit. See, this is a real dry brush. How dry the brush is. It's letting a lot of the canvas show through, coming down the belly. Add a little of that there. Some glazing medium so I can blend. Yeah, there we go. Because I want a nice soft edge. I don't want it to be hard. Just work that softly. Just definitely want that there. Pull a little more of my yellow out. And I'm going to work this part here. Just having that hot spot there. A little flame coming off here. And we're going to do, well, maybe a little bit of a yellow flame there. We'll have to come with cooler flames. The front. Now I'm going to get a little of my white, again, coming off this little tail, and come straight up, swoop down, come up like this. Maybe we'll have another little one there. Grab some of your just straight yellow. Maybe a little bit flying off there. It's pretty good. Let's mix a little, we'll have to put out a little more yellow, closer to our cad red. Let's mix a little bit of that up. Let's take a little of this red into our yellow, and we're going to get a really hot orange. We'll come right here at the front of the hoof. We'll bring a little flame up as well. Maybe a little one in the leg. Front of the leg can have a reflection. Front of this hoof. Just down the, there we go. Getting those fire reflections going with this orange. You know, get them going. For sure, I want to just a little of this along this belly. And you know, a smidge would reflect right here on this shoulder. A little light. Maybe here under the neck. little smidge of it, just reflecting back. Might knock that back just a bit. Just a little. Cool it down. A little black and just trying to cool that down. Don't want too much of it there. Rinse all that out. I'm going to get some very, very light yellow that's just slightly tinted orange. I'm going to come in. Dry brush. A little more orange than what I have, but still not quite fully yellow. Right here on this jawline. And then along the bottom here. Just a little of this. Giving it shape. You can do this. Let's come under. Get some, just more. Let's come under this little up here. A little bit under the chin. Now I know I'm going to put a little bit right here and at the top of the ear. I may need an actual even smaller brush, which is kind of exciting. So let me find an even smaller brush. I have this very small round with synthetic fibers. I'm going to start working in the nostril. I'm going to get it wet. And I'm going to actually grab some just, interestingly enough, red to go right there in this nostril. Just glowing in there. And if you can, actually I might need to put out some more purple, just a smidge, the smallest amount. Don't need a lot, but it's a great way to cool my red down where I need to. So I'm going to take a little of this red and mix it into the purple. And get the beginning of this eye in. I'm going to have that be a glow as well. While I'm here, I want to very carefully put in the horn. I'm going to put out a little more of my fluid paint, just a small amount. I'm going to be simple with this and just make the horn white. And come directly above the eye, straight up. Lightening my pressure till it tapers to a point. So what's working for me here is that my paint is very fluid and my brush has a fine point. And I'm lightening my pressure, and that's why I have such an easy time getting that in. All right, I'm going to get back into my number 4 here. I'm going to pull out a little. I want to make sure my water's pretty clean. I'm going to be pulling out my yellow. I'm going to just bring some flames swirling up. Now my main will mostly be yellow where it's supposed to be at its hottest place, and I'm going to say that the heat source is him. So that's what's going to be happening there. I'm going to mix in a little of my cad red to my yellow. And just continue some flames coming out into space. I like to have them travel in these little unexpected surprise trajectories in this place, which probably doesn't have oxygen, so that makes no sense, but it's our art, so we can do as we please here. Just adding that there. I'm going to definitely, I think I'm going to just switch back down to another number 2 simply because I just need more control. If ever you're just going along and you just feel like you're fighting the paint, sometimes a good idea is to switch the brush. Come along this tail here. Make a little flame up there. Just keep making this orange. Just keep pulling the fire out. It's a fun little stroke. I enjoy doing it. I'm going to pull a little flame out here. Maybe a little bit there. So I'm just enjoying that. Hope you're enjoying that as well. So I've got a slightly more orange light that I'm going to put in these spaces, maybe a little bit right there. That's put a little bit of this right here in the, and then I think I really want to continue this light along this leg line. Just taking that orange and just defining what I've already put in. So we definitely have some light cast on it, as with this. And the mane. So just have some fun with where you think that that's going to be, and then we'll put some little heat and reflection right here. Let's make some more orange, cad red with the cad yellow. Just putting that everywhere I need it. I'm going to add this to the jawline. I'm going to get into my detail brush with him. So I have my little highlight color that I made. Get that a little bit wet. Make sure that it's got some diversity there. I'm going to come the front of his lip here. A little bit behind his nostril, just a touch. I'm going to make this little sort of C. I hope you can see it with the close-up cam. Just right along the top here. This light color. And this is sort of like this little C shape. And then I've got to highlight this little ocular space. And I may even go back and kind of redefine the ear. Just a little bit. There we go. I grabbed some just white. I'm just shading that in. Let's just work that there. We just need that little highlight there happening. Get a little of the black and make sure that I'm just shaping this correctly around the eye. I'm gonna get my number 2. I'm gonna maybe take a little of the blue and black mixture and knock some of that orange back around the chin, just right under this lip. I use the glaze just so it's not as prominent. Blending right here. You can always do that. Just blend this out a little bit. We want it, we just don't want it to be so boom. I'm going to do a little bit above this lip line, just knock it back a bit. Now I'm going to get a little of this cad red. I'm going to come just underneath and ever so slightly define that. Everything is about it being ever so slightly. And you can handle it. You know, you can handle putting in a little shadow. Right here. Just shaping that just a little bit. Just going to get a dry brush of my pure cad. Come and make sure that my jawline is nice. Alright, there we go. That's lovely. So that's what you're looking for. I'm going to put a little bit of this right here on the neck. You're just trying to create this sense of him feeling like he is here being real. Another little coming right under this little elbow here. Maybe just a dry brush scrumble right over. See, it's about not a lot of pigment. My brush slightly damp. And I'm going to come and do some of my more cooled out flames. These are the flames that are furthest away from the heat source. It feels like, I feel like I need to grab some just yellow right here. Even come back along the neck with like the second coat. Just to make sure that there's there you go. Just a little bit right here. Right here at the horn as well. Putting these little highlights in my fire. It's fun stuff. And then you just do this. I'm going to get a little more yellow. Maybe right here. Back side of this. Look for that story. Some pure cad. There we go. Telling that fire. Put out a little more cad. You can put it out in small amounts. You don't have to put it out in big quantities. So when I have that there, I can take a little of this and right along the front of the hoof, maybe just a touch, and just at the tip right here. I'm going to bring it a little under the belly. And some right here, the front of this little leg. Let's just pull it along. Grab a little bit out. A little bit back here. So you can see we just took it from its lightest to its darkest. In the eye, now that we have that sort of in, grab some just pure CAD on the tip of that detail micron brush, just right here at the back of this eye. With that little reflection, if you need to reinforce and blend between the dark and the front, grab some purple, and just at the front, you're just blending these two things in so that it feels like the eyes are an ember. You can grab a little yellow, just coming off the eye, bring a little flame back here. While you're at it, you can also, I might do it with maybe this brush, just dry brush a little yellow right here. You can glaze it, dry brush it, just a little bit underneath, reflecting. Grab some just CAD, maybe add a little bit of that to the flames coming off the eye. Pretty fun stuff. Now we'll put a little reflection in, which is just a dot on the tip of your pen. And go ahead and add that little reflection to the eye. It can be really, really helpful. So that helps him just really come alive. Now he's going to be casting some drama on these rocks. So I'm going to get my number 6 out or my number 4 out. I think maybe my number 4. And I'm going to make sure that my rocks have some light. So I'm going to pull out my yellow and a little of my CAD red. I'm going to make a nice orange here. Maybe more yellow. And just dance a little of this reflection of the light from him on these rocks. This is a real dry brush. You know, I'll be coming here. Just dancing that around. Just putting it up at the front where you've already put highlights just a little bit. I'm going to make it more orange. Just dance a little bit of the brighter orange. A couple places. Bring that where that needs to go. Anywhere that might need to go. That's looking pretty fantastic. He's looking kind of spacey, like he's on fire. You can take a little bit of that orange on a very dry brush. Just make sure that you've got very dry brush. See, I keep having to wipe the brush off to make it dry enough because it's not. I'm erasing by using the water in the brush to scrumble it back. Try again with my towel. There we go, that's a dry brush. Dry brushes should really skip along and just barely touch. Shoulder here. Just think about wherever. Back there. Just defining the lines. I think I want a little bit of the cad red right here on him. There we go. Maybe deeper right here along the belly. Okay, super happy with that. Now I can take this micro mini brush. It's like a model brush, you know, it's just the smallest brush that you have. And I think it's very important to twinkle some of the stars. And I like to pick some stars. I'm going to pick a star right here. And I'm going to draw a line up, a line down, a line to the right, a line to the left, a couple diagonal ones out, and then some very soft little circular radiating outlines to say that there's a light coming out. You know, you just find the stars that are speaking to you. If you feel you've lost too many stars in your nebulas because your glaze wasn't thin enough, this is a good time to put them back. If you get one of these fabulous nail tools, you can also add some stars by hand without splattering. So don't feel like you're ever stuck. At any point. You don't have a nail tool, you have a teeny tiny detail brush, you can use the back. If the back of your brush is real small, you can use the back of your brush. Don't be thwarted. We'll put a little cluster of these twinkles over here. I like twinkling up the stars. It's fun for me. Maybe a nice big one right here. Kind of a crazy angle for me to try to get this at. Maybe a nice one down here. Just a little light coming out. Definitely think we need a couple more. Little small twinklers. Just enjoy the process. Add your extra stars anywhere you feel you need them. Shouldn't need too many. And then the last thing, of course, is to give it a little signature, because that's how you say I'm done. You don't have to sign your painting, but I like to. It's a nice way of saying that you made it. I like to find an interesting place to sign it. And I like to use colors integrated into my painting to do it. So I'm going to use some of this Cad Red. I'm going to come right along here. So, unicorn on fire in space with planets and twinkle stars. It's all doable. It's all possible, and I hope you totally went for it. I can't wait to see your space unicorns. I love sharing it with you. If you'd like to see more information about art projects like this, check out TheArtSherpa.com. And I want to see you at the easel really, really soon.